If you won $1 million today, what would you do? What would you do with $1 million? Now, it could be more on the lottery or casino, what have you. It could be 5 million, 10 million, 50 million, 200 million. But let's just keep it simple. If you won or came into $1 million today as I'm speaking to you, what would you do with it? Would you just go out and buy things, materialistic things, that is, houses, cars, appliances, electronics, televisions, cell phones, more modern, more expensive cell phones, video game systems? Or would you go out to the clubs flaunting your money around, showing people that you have a different status now? Would you go out and take your friends out to eat on a large scale? Would you do things for your family and for the less fortunate? Would you give to charities? Would you donate some of your money? Or would it be all about you? Let me put myself in this hypothetical situation with all of you all that are listening to me right now. What would I do with $1 million? The first thing that I would do, and if you are an average person out there listening to me, this is what I would suggest to you. But I can't make you do anything. But this is what I would suggest to you. Now, I said $1 million. It could be $100,000, or it could be $50,000 or $10,000. But this is what I would do with $1 million. The first thing that I would do is make sure that I eliminate all of any debt that I may have. I'm sure the average person, the average human being, man, woman, or child, has not accumulated $1 million in debt. So let's say all of the taxes have been paid and I have free and clear $1 million. I would take and pay off all of any debt that I might have existing. Secondly, wherever I am living, in a house, if I still have a mortgage, I would pay the mortgage completely off. If I owned a car, I would pay for my car completely. I would also make sure that I take care of any type of maintenance on my home and on my automobile, if not even indeed getting a second automobile. I take care of all of the maintenance and make sure that everything is functioning properly and up to date. That's what I would do first. That takes a psychological burden off of you. Next, what I would do is I would make sure that I put a substantial amount of money into a bank that would generate a decent amount of interest, whether it be a 401k, whether it be a certificate of deposit or some other vehicle in the banking system. I would make sure that I'm gaining interest off of that money, and I wouldn't touch it. I'd leave it there. Now, the remaining money, and I'm not putting any dollar amounts on what the remaining money might be, but whatever the remaining money would be, and it would still be substantially high. What I would do with the remaining money is I will assist those that are close to me, that I know who legitimately have been struggling all or most of their lives. I'm not going to pay off their bills completely. I think that would be an injustice to them. But what I would do I would relieve some of the pressure from them, so so that they don't have to work as hard to pay their bills. So, for example, let's say they're behind on their mortgage, rent, whatever the case is, or they owe, let's say, $10,000 on their automobile. I may pay half the automobile off. They still have the bill. They still have debt that they owe, but it would take some of the burden off of them. And let's say the mortgage, again, that I use as an example. Let's say they owe $40,000 and $50,000 on their mortgage. I may pay $10,000 of the mortgage for half a year or a whole year, whatever the case is, depending on how much their home is. I would do that. Or I could possibly, let's say, their utilities. I could pay their utilities off for the whole year. And that would be something that they would not be concerned about, at least for a year. But mind you, let me insert this here. This is very, very important. Very, very important, ladies and gentlemen. When you relieve people of responsibility completely, depending on who you're talking to, when you take completely the responsibility from most people, they will take advantage of you. They will take it for granted. I'm going to tell you exactly what I mean. Let's say we're still talking about me coming into $1 million in my hand right now, and I'm helping someone. Let's say I know someone who is always playing the lottery, thinking that they're going to hit it big. And that same individual on a regular basis is going to the casino, but they have 3 or 4 children living at home with them. And they're always complaining about not having money. And let's say they're a month behind on their bills, maybe even 2 months behind on their bills. If I were to hand them cash money and say, pay your rent for a couple months, pay your utilities for a couple months, and fill your refrigerator and your cabinets up with food for a month, I know they wouldn't do it. Those dollar bills that I would put in their hands will have their nostrils open, their eyes open like silver dollars. And as soon as I turn my back and walk away, they'd be at the casino, or they'd be standing in the convenience store buying more lottery tickets, trying to hit it big. You follow what I'm saying? So oftentimes it's best that you do the deal, that you do the service for them. That way they don't find themselves behind the 8 ball or even further behind in their bills because the money just was too good to them. So sometimes you just have to go ahead and pay it forward, as they say. And that's not a problem anymore. So that's what I would rather do in most instances where I know people are struggling. I would rather pay the bill for them as opposed to hand them the cash money, because I don't know very many people. I know a handful of people, but I don't know very many people that if you put several $1,000s in their hands, that they're going to do the right thing with it. They're going to go out and they're going to have that materialistic mind. Women are going to go out and want to party. They're going to go out and want to buy shoes and purses and clothes and things like this. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but that's going to take precedence over their priorities. You follow me? So the question still remains, what would you do with $1 million if you had $1 million today? If some stroke of luck, and I don't believe in the word luck, but if something were to happen and that it was left to you in someone's will or estate, or you won it on the lottery, what would you do with $1 million? Would you be kind to your brothers and sisters and share it? Or would it be all about you and yourself? Would it change your personality? Would you think that you're better than your family or better than the next person because you came into some money? This is one interesting thing that I learned in life a long time ago, and I still maintain this ideal today, and that is this: how you are as a child is how you shall be as an adult. And what I mean by that is this is a good example. If you were selfish or stingy, we used to say, as a child, chances are you would be the same as an adult. You would just be an older version of the child that you once were. If you were a child that had anger issues, chances are when you become an adult, you will still have anger issues, but the difference is that you're just much older with anger issues. If you were someone, God forbid, that was a thief as a child, that you were always stealing something, always being deceptive as a child, chances are 99% of the time that when you become an adult, you will be that same person. You're just an older model or image of that same child. So remember that. Who you are as a child. If you had structure, if you had people who guided you correctly, if you were studious as a child, all of those good qualities that you had as a child will transfer to being an adult. And conversely, all of the bad and negative things about you as a child, if those indeed are your personality traits, will transfer over to you as an adult as well. So if you did not manage money well as a child and you didn't know how to save, what makes you think you're going to save when you're 30, 40, 50, and 60 years old? Because you're still who you were as a child. It takes, in some instances, an act of God to change many of us. But if that act of God doesn't occur, then we will remain who we were as a child. So, what would you do with $1 million if it was in your hands right now? Leave your response in the comment section below, and I will respond to those comments. This is Brother Teacher in the Meanwhile, and I'll see you in the next video. So long.